It is 2:30. You are now in our clutches. Welcome to Wither Publishing. So my name is Coffee. You've seen me probably with cards going out, hey, I'm Coffee Quills. I do what's called self-publishing, and depending on who you talk to, indie publishing. At this point, I've done short stories, novellas, novels, all of that through self-publishing, and I'm going to talk to you about that. But first...
Hi, I'm Iain Maloney. Most of you, I think I know, we've been presenting at these things for a while. I've written lots of stuff, poetry, non-fiction, fiction, novels, novellas, pretty much all published in traditional publishing routes by, and we're going to get into this, by indie publishers, small presses, things like that, including one book by Isobar, who have just finished up. So essentially today, between Coffee and I, we've got a lot of experience of the publishing industry, the good things and the bad things, mostly the bad things about it. We're going to share our experiences and our knowledge, but most of this we want to open up to everybody in the room. So every year at these things, a little bit on the Friday night, but always on the Saturday night during the dinner, we get into big, long conversations about publishing, about questions about publishing, experiences about publishing. Because at these conferences, there's people here who are working on their first manuscript and they're preparing to get published. There's people who've published 2 books, 5 books, 10 books, people who've had an entire lifetime in writing and publishing. There's so much knowledge and so much experience in this room and at this conference. But when it gets going at the dinner, there's alcohol, it's noisy, everybody gets distracted, and the conversations don't go in. So I started thinking last year, when we were up in Fukushima, maybe we should make that a session. So I'm going to talk a bit about traditional publishing and the issues there. I'm going to hand over to Coffee, who's going to do her bit about self-publishing and stuff. And then, most importantly, it's going to be your turn. And we're going to open up, if you have questions, if you have stories, if you have experiences, anything you want to share. We labeled this as a panel discussion. This is not a panel, this is a panel. Yeah. You are the panel, okay? And hopefully it'll work. Please don't be like my students and just make it an awkward silence that nobody wants to fill. All right. So, yeah, I said earlier when I introduced myself, I'm a writer. I also work as an editor. I work as a freelance editor. I have worked for small presses and indie publishers in the UK, but don't at the moment. But I do work for an agency and by myself as a freelance editor, mostly fiction, some non-fiction. And the bulk of what I do is helping people prepare their manuscripts for submission. Usually debut authors, usually novels, a lot of science fiction and fantasy, but basically everything. Mostly science fiction and fantasy, because that seems to be what a lot of people are writing. Very popular.
Escapism, who knew?
Yeah, we all need a bit of that just now. So over the years of doing that, I get asked a lot of questions, a lot of things come up, a lot of myths, a lot of false beliefs about the industry. So what I'm going to do is sort of very quickly rattle through a few of those frequently asked questions, assumptions, myths, things like that, deal with them with some numbers, and then we can come back and discuss them a bit later on. So I'm going to talk about what we call the Big 5 publishers, as well as, we're going to argue again, indie publishers. Big 5, as they're known, Penguin Random House, Hachette, HarperCollins, Simon & Schuster, and Macmillan, control an enormous amount of publishing market. Penguin Random House, which runs over 300 imports, publishes over 85,000 different titles a year. That's across fiction, non-fiction, references, kids' books, everything, audiobooks, all of that. They're the biggest one. We've got Hachette's got 200 imprints, and the others going down. But you're talking the bulk of the books that are published every year. And of course, they've got the money, they've got the marketing, they've got access to everything. So when I say the Big 5, this is what I mean, but I'm not going to limit it entirely to them. I should say I haven't been published by any of the Big 5, which is why I'm poor. But yeah, I've got experience working for them and working with people for them, so I'm going to talk about that. The main thing that comes up all the time with unpublished writers, debut writers, is the money aspect, so I'll deal with that first. Someone once actually said to me, once my novel is published, I can quit my job and write full-time. That's the dream. Has anyone in this room managed that yet? No? Good. Yeah.
We got one?
Well, technically I write and edit.
There you go. Yeah, if you expand, I mean, I can do it if you expand the definition of writing to mean everything that involves putting words on paper. But yeah, very, very, very unlikely. Obviously it does happen, but very unlikely to happen. When we're talking about advances is always the thing that gets the headlines. There's an article in Publishers Weekly I found that goes through this of what it actually means when they talk about somebody got a nice deal or a good deal. These are actual defined terms, it turns out.
Yeah.
That an advance of from $1 to $49.99 is a nice deal.
Nice.
And then you got a very nice deal, a good deal. Up to $500,000 US dollars is a significant deal, which, yeah, I think so. And of course, a major deal. I'm not going to ask if anyone here has ever had a major deal. It would be nice. But yeah, so that's what we're talking about with advances. As I say, I'm going to rattle through this quite quickly. We can come back and deal with specific bits if needed. When we're talking about advances, that's what's reported, that's what's projected, that's what people expect. Actual advances generally seem to be. There's no absolute 100% factual statistics for this, because a lot of these things are reported, and a lot of this is based on the fact that authors and definitely publishers tend not to talk too much about the money they're getting unless it's painfully small and they want to complain about it. So the average seems to be from the big five between 10,000 and 30,000 US dollars. So we average at about 20,000 in the UK, because we are so much poorer, between 2 and 10,000, an average of 5,000. For indie publishers, 1,000 to 5,000 US dollars. UK from zero, which does happen, to $2,000, £2,000, sorry. I will say in advance, in the interest of transparency, the highest advance I've ever got was £2,000. Everything else has been significantly under that. That was for Only Gaijin in the Village, which is on sale upstairs. So, one thing that comes up quite a lot with first-time authors and conversations I've had is what the advance actually is. The advance is not a fee for the book, it's not what you're paid for the book, it is an advance, the same as a salary advance. The money comes out of your future sales. It's essentially the publisher gambling on how many copies they think they can sell. So a higher advance means they're more confident that they can sell the book, but it's no guarantee, and because it's an advance, it comes out of your future sales. You get no royalties, you get zero other money until the advance is paid off. I have only twice out of 9 books paid off an advance. They tend to balance out if you publish with the same publisher over a few books, but it doesn't always happen. The advance is usually paid in 3 installments. You get a third on signing, a third on delivery of the manuscript, and a third on publication. So even if you get, a major advance, you're not getting $500,000 into your bank in one go. You're getting thirds. Still nice, but still. So case study, this comes from The Guardian. Case study, somebody gets a $100,000 4-book deal, defined as a good deal, which means you're getting $25,000 a book. It's not $100,000 for each book in a 4-book series. So this one always affects science fiction and fantasy writers who are going, I've got a series of 15 novels that builds to a dramatic climax.
Good. I mean, good on writing it.
Yeah,
good.
If you're very, very lucky. And as an aside, never pitch a series to a traditional publisher. Always pitch a standalone book that could have a sequel. They will run scared if you say you have a trilogy or more. So, $100,000 gives you $25,000 per book. If you write and publish 1 book a year, which is a fast turnaround, you need to be working full-time on the book to do that. it means you are not, if you're not working in another full-time job, it means your annual salary for that year is $25,000 paid in 3 installments. That is below the average salary for a full-time worker in the US. As of about a year ago, I'm not even going to take a guess at what the average salary in the US right now is.
Don't.
No. So even if you get a $100,000 4-book deal, you're not quitting your day job, you're not buying a big mansion in the hills, and living like Stephen King. The question then I was asked is, but what about royalties? So say you do pay out your advance, sell out your advance, you can get to this stage. The average royalty rate in a contract is between 7.5% to 10%, and an average paperback in the US costs between $10 and $20. So you're getting at best 10% of the $20. So one sale, yeah.
If you don't get in advance, can you negotiate for higher royalties?
You can try. if you have a good agent, then yeah, ideally. Some places will not do. So Isobar, and I know I can say this because Paul already said this in public today, Isobar don't do advances once Paul reclaims costs for publishing the book. It's 50-50 on all things after that. So it does happen with small presses. If you try and negotiate that with Penguin Random House, they're just going to laugh and say no. So yeah, it's unlikely. And this is maybe a discussion for later. We can maybe think about this, is would you take 0 advance and higher royalties, or would you take the advance? Because again, the advance is a gamble on book sales. But if it doesn't earn out, you still keep the advance.
Yeah.
It's the publisher that loses. So that's maybe something to circle back to on that. But yeah, so with that case study, you're getting at best $2 from each book sale, and that's before you pay tax on it, and that's before your agent takes at least 15% from it. So on very, very, very basic mathematics, you need to sell.
What if you don't have an agent and you go to... I heard of that happening.
It does happen. Yeah, I currently don't have an agent. My agent retired, and I'm looking for another one if there's any agents in the room. So, yeah, I'm going to talk a bit more about submissions. So I'll come back to that, and then we can open it up. Assuming all of those things, then we can do that. However, one thing with royalties is there's 2 models within publishing. There's a retail price model versus the net receipts model. This is where it gets hugely affected by things like Amazon and supermarkets offering massive discounts, buy 2, 1 get 1 free, all of those kind of things. If you are on what we call a net receipts model, those discounts come out of your cut. They don't come out of the publisher's cut, and they definitely don't come out of Amazon's cut.
No.
Amazon are not going to give that up. So if you're on a net receipt model, and you're getting, you're selling the book $20, 10%, you're getting $2 minus tax, minus your agent cut, minus discounts, commissions, fees, and all of the other hidden costs that come in. So to answer your question, if you don't have an agent and you're negotiating, the first thing to check is it a net price, a net receipts model, or a retail price model? You don't want a net receipts model, especially if you're doing commercial fiction, science fiction, things that are going to sell in airports and supermarkets, that kind of thing, because that's where they'll get you. Right. Other problems going on just now, there's big problems in the industry with sales dropping, with supply chains, with saturated market, and with huge delays at the submission stage. Very quickly go through that. Book sales are down. They are going down all the time. So just one example, between May last year and May this year, adult fiction's down, non-fiction's down, children and YA is down. Everybody talks about how the YA is booming, and it is, but it's also still dropping. A lot of this is not helped by Kindle Unlimited, up to 5 million subscribers. That doesn't count as book sales because it's a subscription, so that goes in. Audiobooks are up, which is is great for those of us who do not have audiobooks, and ebooks are up, which is great for publishers because the markup on those is insane. Actually, I should have said that with royalties, you'll probably get a much higher rate on royalties with ebooks. It's usually around 25%, but you need a good agent to negotiate that. They will try and slip it through. The supply chain problems, if you want to see a grown man cry, go and talk to Paul Rossiter about supply chain problems.
Yeah.
His books have not turned up for today.
Oh,
or they might have, actually, by now. The pandemic, the COVID pandemic, caused huge problems everywhere, obviously, but in the industry, where a lot of jobs disappeared, and there's so many stoppages. From the manufacturing through printing to shipping, it was total chaos. It's still not great. We're not back to full capacity. There are huge delays in shipping everywhere. And this is where the big five come in. The big five have priority. They can pay more. They have contracts. If a printer is not printing for Penguin Random House, they will move those multi-million-dollar contracts elsewhere. So if you're with a small press or an indie publisher, you're going to be way down the list of priorities.
Oh, yeah.
The short-run printing, I'm hoping Paul will pop in later because he knows a lot about print-on-demand publishing, and we can pick his brains about that. Also, a lot of distributors closed down. So again, small presses, indies, self-publishing, getting your books in bookshops is a lot harder. And even just in the industry, I know a lot of people that were working in publishing, they got furloughed during the crisis and just never got taken back on again and had to move into different industries. So there's fewer editors, there's fewer proofreaders, all that kind of thing, which knocks on to delays in the submission process. This is definitely something we will all be complaining about tonight once we get a few drinks in us.
Yep.
Agents on average, according to The Guardian, get over 2,000 submissions a year. Obviously, they are not reading 2,000 submissions a year. Most of those are getting used to be getting a thank you, but no thank you. Now you're just being ghosted. People are just not replying anymore. And
That's easiest.
It's easiest, yeah. And even if they are, I know a guy who waited 19 months, total silence, and then they said yes. 19 months and it wasn't even a rejection, but total silence. So how the hell are you supposed to know what's going on? Part of this is because the decisions in publishing is made not by the editorial team anymore, it's made by the marketing team. And that means because they're really risk averse, but what it means is the first question a publisher will ask you when you're submitting is, what kind of audience do you already have? If you have a YouTube channel with 500,000 subscribers, they're going to pay attention to your manuscript.
Or fan fiction writer.
Or a fan fiction writer, anything. If you run a podcast, anything where you can say, look, I've got all of these people already know who I am, already follow my work. If 10% of those buy my book, it's a bestseller. I'm not going to name names, but there's at least a couple people in Japan that have benefited hugely from that. Get me a drink later, and I will tell you. So even at the submission stage, and this is the saddest thing I always have to tell the people I'm working with on their submissions, is you could have the greatest book in the world, you could have the best submission package, and if you have zero audience and you're pitching at an agent that is understaffed and over busy, it's not going anywhere. It's just going to disappear. So that is enough from me. I will hand over to Coffee for her bit.
Now, I get to tell you some fun stuff, like you don't have to worry about advancement. You do have to worry about royalties. You don't have to worry about finding an agent. You are your own agent, which, congratulations, you are your own marketer. You are your own cover designer or finder of your cover designer. You are your own editor or finder of editor. You are your own, oh shoot, my brain just died. Formatting. You are your own formatter, or you find your formatting. You get to do everything. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Yay.
While also working a full-time job.
While also working a full-time job, because you're probably not going to make money doing self-publishing. Now, there are some differences between traditional publishing and self-publishing. There are some things that kind of go in the middle. The funny thing is, we were talking yesterday about indie publishing. And self-publishing, when it started, nobody likes self. That's ego talking. I think my book is great. Well, congrats, I don't want to read it. You think your book is great? I want to hear someone else tell me, your book is great, let me read it. And so in the beginning, a lot of self-published people kind of borrowed indie. I am an independent publisher, and that's true. I am independent, I do everything myself. I can't get any more independent than that. But at the same time, what I would call a boutique publisher is what Iain would call an indie publisher. All those smaller imprints. And in that sense of the word, I have been traditionally published, and thank you, COVID, my imprint kind of just disappeared. They were really nice, though. They made sure I got all my rights back, which I have other friends still fighting for their book rights from lovely publishers. Which is one of the first things I'm going to say. If you go traditional, you go indie, whatever you want to call itself, the best website for you, writer beware. Writer beware, Janet does the most intense mystery-solving detective work on why you do not want to answer that email you just got about publishing your book. And or, oh, Mango Tree Publishing just became Key Lime Publishing and they're still not paying their authors? Something to think about. Now, talking about payment, I have published through Amazon, I have published through Smashwords, I have published through itch.io, and payment tends to be PayPal. I hope you like PayPal, because PayPal does not like you, I promise you that right now. The other thing is, Amazon is very, very finicky about where they want to put your books. You can request, hey, this is a romance with a lesbian couple, could you put it in, LGBT and fantasy? And Amazon will kind of look at it and go, yeah, but we're also going to put it over here in like historical fiction. And you go, what? Why? So that's fun. And then you get to email Amazon and be like, please take my book and put it in the correct category. Nobody's looking at it, and the people looking at it are angry because it's not that category. So you were saying earlier about the KU publishers, and KU, if for anyone who does not know, is Kindle Unlimited. And as a reader, it's a great thing. I have access to a library of books that I read for free because I have a subscription to the library. It can be anything. And as a writer, as an author, as a publisher with KU, thank you very much for the 1 cent per page or less that you're paying me to read my book. If my book takes off, like the romantasy Morning Glory Milking Farm, you get to look that up yourself, and please enjoy that treat I just gave you.
That's good.
If your book takes off and you are in KU, you can get an actual income from that. You can get a working income from that. But publishing, maybe if you're lucky, you can publish one thing a year, traditional, because you have to go through the process, through the people. If you're an indie publisher, if you're a self-publisher, you're doing it all yourself. You are the process. You decide when to do it. The best timing, according to the latest marketing figures, is you should be publishing at least once per month. Yeah, some people can, some people can't. What a lot of people end up doing to gain the algorithm, to get eyes on their books, you finish that trilogy, you finish that 15-book series. You publish one, you put a link in the back and says, in 1 month, I'll publish a second one. The second book, when you publish it, in 2 weeks, I will publish the next one. And you stack it so that you gain the momentum. This also means that everyone likes a series. Nobody really likes standalone when it comes to indie publishing, self-publishing, because, okay, I like this one book by this author. Do you have anything else I like? Maybe, maybe not. really popular right now for the moment is the world view. Who reads romantasy?
I read it right.
Who reads romance? Okay, by the way, romance is the top seller of books. Romance is the bomb. And if you do romance, if you do anything, sci-fi, fantasy, romance, you're gonna find your niche. You're gonna find your people who enjoy your writing and your book. But you have to keep writing it. And what a lot of people are doing now, and I've seen it start in romance and it's traveling over along the speculative fiction line, you have a world, which is awesome. You build your world, you make your world, it's great. And the best example I can give is like the 7 sisters of the familia need to find their spouses. Book 1 is sister number 1, book 2 is sister number 2, book 3 is sister number 3. But the thing is, you have your niche, you have your readers, it works. Your readers want to continue going back to your world, even if your main pair changes. And in romance, it's easiest to do that when you change the main character. Because romance, you kind of want to end happy. So what would book 2 be about? Okay, you have a book 3 with this character. Are they really a romantic couple? Because something's not really happening here. So, you will need to learn the marketing, you'll need to learn all the social media, because again, if you do go traditional, you need to bring it with you. If you want to survive as a self-publisher, you need it. The best advice I've seen is find one social media, stick with it. Don't try to spread yourself over 20,000 social medias, because that's the best way to just be like, I don't care about any of this. If I see that argument one more time, I'm just gonna blow up my account. I don't care. But that's the fun thing. So self-publishing, there's a lot more to think about. 2.6 million books are self-published per year. You think your market is oversaturated? Whew. The good news is this means there's collaborations. You find your niche, you find the mountain man that you want to write about. I've seen newsletters, apparently Mountain Man is really in right now. Every 2 months, I think there's a new group that is releasing Mountain Man romance. I don't see it as much for fantasy. I don't see it as much for sci-fi. It really is the romance market that you want to take your marketing cues from. And why do you want your marketing cues? Because PayPal doesn't love you and Amazon, Amazon doesn't care about you. I'm sorry, it's true. So Amazon has a rule that says if you publish to Amazon, you can publish through paperback, hardcover, or ebook and KU. If you publish through KU, number 1 rule, you cannot publish that ebook anywhere else on the internet. It is an Amazon exclusive because it is in KU, whether or not you're actually making money from that or not. Because remember, somebody has to read it. It just doesn't have to exist in the subscription service. So when you go into Amazon, you go, hey, I do want to sell my book through you, blah, blah, blah. Amazon says, would you like 70% royalties or 35% royalties? Hands up, who wants 35% royalties?
It depends.
It depends. That is the answer. That is the answer. It depends because the market is so oversaturated. You want to stand out. If your book is 99 cents, your first book in a series, you have a trilogy, the first book is 99 cents to get the person in, the rest of the books are $2.99. That's a good marketing strategy. That if you want to price your book below $2.99, Amazon tells you you will be taking 35% royalties and you will like it. If you want to price your book above $9.99, you will be taking 35% royalty and you will like it. The 70% royalty that Amazon will give you is from $2.99 to $9.99. That's it. If your book is outside the range, if your book is under the range, you get 35%. Now, the other fun thing that Amazon does is if you choose 70% royalties, you pay for your ebook file to be delivered to the reader. Yeah. You get to pay for that too. But if you chose 35% royalties, you don't have to pay for that. So that's the fun part. How I've seen people get around this rule though, for KU, you put, and this is again why you want the trilogy, why you want your quartet, you smack it all to one big book, you shove it into KU, and your bundle is your book, which means you are free to publish as an ebook your singular volumes because your singular volume is not in KU. And that's the kind of fun stuff you get to think about when you do your own marketing. So, oh, did we mention barcodes?
We didn't. No.
Yes.
A quick question about
Sure.
the bundle. I love this little workaround. Do you just give it a different SKU, or does it mean a whole different ISBN number?
Usually a whole different ISBN number.
Right.
Because, and that's actually a perfect segue into the barcodes, you get to pay for your own barcode. Now, okay, one book, one barcode, right? Yes, kinda. By the way, the barcode is about $25 each. You wanna buy it in bundle for like $100 and get 10 barcodes because there's a sale apparently on barcodes. I don't. But the fun part is your paperback book needs a barcode. Your ebook needs a different barcode. Your audiobook needs a third barcode. Your hardcover book needs a fourth barcode. Oh wow, that 10 bundle of barcodes is suddenly half gone from one book because you have made different choices regarding your book publishing. And then there comes the fun of all the supply chain issue woes. I'm that low-paying person, which means that Macmillan steals my supplies first. And if I'm lucky, I get an email saying, hey, your stuff will be late. But that is pretty much, oh, and please don't vanity publish.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that too. Vanity publish, self-publish, again, this is why a lot of people use indie, is because vanity and self sounds very similar. It's not. Whatever you do in publishing, whether you do traditional, whether you do self, the money should go to you. The money should not be going to the publishing, and I put quotation marks there for a reason, the publishing company. Yes, you should pay for editing, yes. You should pay for a book cover. But your royalties and all of that should be going to you. The money you make should be going to you. So please beware the vanity publishers. But self-publishing, I say all that is really not that bad. You do have to learn a lot. You do have to adapt a lot. And you're not gonna be rich quick. I have made $160 this year. Woo! Yes?
I'm sorry, maybe I'm the only person, but can you clarify the difference between what you mean by vanity and self? Thank you.
Sure.
And boutique.
And boutique, okay. So I have not done vanity publishing. Vanity publishing usually contacts you and says, I have a great deal for you. I'm gonna publish your book. You just need to pay me $2,000.
Okay, got it.
That's vanity. You can usually find them on Writer Beware as well. If you ever have a question, is this company vanity or not? Self-publishing means you are the person doing the work.
Okay.
Whether that means like I can't do graphic design to save my life, please don't ever make me. I find a graphic designer and go, hi, can I pay you money for a book cover? And the graphic designer says, yeah, what do you want? Boutique is, I was published through Less Than 3 Press. Less Than 3 Press was a small independent publisher, not connected with any of the big five. It is a boutique because there's like one in existence. There's one office, it's nowhere else, and if you know it, you know it. If you don't, you don't. Does that answer, like, separating this? Awesome.
Yeah. So I'd call a boutique small press or an indie. The problem with indie in traditional publishing is that an indie publisher can mean anything. I did a search yesterday and I found one indie publisher who calls themselves an indie publisher that owns 50 imprints. That's independent in that they're not in the big five. But that's not indie in either of our understandings of the word.
No, absolutely not.
It's probably, in traditional publishing, it's probably closer to when you talk about indie in the music world, where you've got major record labels and indie record labels. It's more like that.
Yeah? Yes. Glasses.
What do you think about these kind of presses, for example, that publish like genealogical research or things that they don't necessarily contact you and they don't accept everything like a vanity press, some vanity presses might do, and they do offer editorial services and they do reject manuscripts, but you still pay for it or pay for half of it.
Yeah.
But they're specializing in a market that's not going to make a profit. I mean, like family history.
Research. Research is your friend. Google is your friend.
Well, no, I guess what I would say is, what's your label for that? I mean, is it indie? Is it vanity?
So I'd probably call that boutique, actually, because it's very, very, very niche in that way.
And I would still call it boutique as well, because even if I don't write for that boutique publisher, somebody does.
Yeah.
And someone's interested in, I don't know, the history of the Colorado River from 1920 to 1950. Glasses again.
Yes, hi. So I have 3 books that have been published by, traditional publishers, and those are nonfiction, but I have a fiction that I finished, and I'm thinking about self or what, indie publishing it? What should I do?
You can say both. The problem with self is that people have still a negative connotation about it.
If I'm publishing it myself, an indie publishing. So, and as I've been trying to read about this area, I came across some suggestions that you can actually, start your own publishing company.
Yeah, you can.
So I'm just wondering, what do you think about that?
Well, the fun part is you get to then figure out the country that you have chosen to start your own business in. Because,
so for example, for me, it would be the U.S.
Yeah, and the U.S. has this wonderful thing where you need to live in the United States. Most states. Georgia State, for example, has it. I think Iowa says you can live wherever, but you have to pay the state every year a certain fee because you are a business. You have to make sure you file your business taxes through that state, and there are other wonderful issues, state per state, in the United States that you need to deal with somehow. It is not a bad idea, because when we all pass away, when you die, what happens to your writing? It's easier to do if you actually have a business taking care of that than if you have just one random person screaming into the void.
My question, the point of my question was in terms of how you're perceived or how it's received by people, because that's kind of the reference that I was thinking about. That, if you don't want to feel like you were so it comes from a publishing company. I just this seems a little bit dubious for me, because I don't want to be pretending. But I'm just trying to explore this idea.
It's not a bad idea. Most people, at least in mine, don't look past a publishing name and a website.
You get that a lot in music as well, where bands will self-release something, but they'll make up a record label name, and
so it looks a little bit better.
The biggest problem, I'd say, thinking about it from sort of my side of things, if you start your own small press to publish just your work or other people's work as well, distribution becomes an absolute nightmare. I know a lot of people that have tried this, started small presses, and got maybe 1 or 2 books, and then discovered they can't get them into bookshops, because most of the bookshops, especially the big chains, have deals with specific distributors. And those distributors, they will look at you and go, wait, this isn't a publisher, this is one person with a name of a publisher. We don't know you, we don't know anything about you, we're not going to deal with you. And then you just hit a brick wall and have to close. That's a very common occurrence.
So with the vanity publishing, do you just say, for example, published by Roy Akhavan?
Well, Vanity Publishing has its own name usually, because it is a company.
Use a name for a publisher.
For example, my publishing right now just says published by Amazon, which is a number one way to say, that's just me, because I have to trust Amazon to publish for me.
Vanity,
I have a friend who just did what you're talking about. He wrote a book based in a very specific geographic area about fly fishing. And he said, after doing this, that almost all the sales are when he goes to groups in person and sells print-on-demand copies. But he is still selling on Amazon and on Apple Books. It's available, you can find it, you can order it, which is what I did. So it's viable, but he's also got a business background, so for him to come out of this field, figure out the world and set up a company, and he doesn't need the money.
I like that, doesn't need the money, that's true. You want to pick a couple of people?
I just want to chime in about your question. If you publish, for example, on Amazon KDP, which is called Kindle Direct, and you do ebooks, but you can also publish paperback. I use them as actually just a printer. So you can order author copies for relatively cheap cost and then mark them up yourself and sell them yourself. When you publish on there, there's a field when you're writing your book information. It just says publisher name, and it's optional. If you leave it blank, it ends up just saying published by Amazon. You can type in anything there.
So it doesn't have to be an actual company.
Yeah, if you look, Iain made the comparison to record labels. I think that's exactly what it is. You're a publisher who only has one author, and maybe even only one book. You're not a publisher. You just use Amazon for all your printing and all your services. Because a press and a publisher are not necessarily the same thing. So you can be the publisher using Amazon as your press. And you don't have to put anything there, but you can. There's no rule about it. No one's going to come arrest you for making up a name, unless you're using someone else's name.
As far as I know, there have been no arrests for just putting a name down there.
the one time that might be an issue, and it's a very rare might, is if your book blows up. And becomes huge, and you're earning a lot of money, and then
congrats on that.
And then the tax man's going to go, wait, what business is this? You're not registered with us. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I just wanted to share that a little breakthrough that I've got a really tenacious publicist, and she's been, I just kind of, give up too quickly on all these things and trying to make a bit of a breakthrough, but with Gardeners, which is literally the one company left in the UK where all bookshops and libraries and everything get their books from, my little imprint, which I gave a fake name to and set up a company in the UK to run, they said, if you've got 3 active titles, we will accept you as a publisher.
Oh, nice.
So I've got a little breakthrough that I have a publisher account now. They've actually recognised my fake imprint, if you like, as a publisher. And it means that my print-on-demand books are now being funneled through Gardeners. So, with the right, I think she had to be quite tenacious with the people at Gardeners, but they did in the end.
Eventually. Congrats on that.
Gardeners are really difficult. I know a lot of small presses that have hit up against that. And I know some that I'd be curious if you've had this. They opened a page and they said, okay, you're now in our system, but they wouldn't put up any cover photos, for example, so the books were blank and that kind of thing. So, Gardeners are hard to get on, so well done.
May I make a comment, word of warning?
Yeah.
When you work with indie publishers, you have to understand sanity is optional. No, seriously. Question number 1, you never think to ask until it's too late. Is your publisher on medication for any neurotic conditions? Question number 2, you never think to ask until it's too late. Is he taking it? No, I had a publisher completed manuscript into a publisher, and after I completed the manuscript, he folded his business in bankruptcy for the 3rd time, simultaneously starting a new publishing company, lying to his authors saying that it was just a name change to steal them away from the people he was losing company in bankruptcy too. I got involved with some of the other publishers in this, and at the end, by the end of it, it was getting to the point where the old publisher was saying things that just simply were not true. And we honestly couldn't figure out if he believed the things he was saying or not. So when you work in indie publishing, yeah, it gets really weird sometimes.
I mean, let's be fair, we're all authors, we're all writers. How weird are writers as a group? But yeah, definitely grain of salt. Writer Beware, again, is a great website to just, has this company had problems? Has this company not been paying their authors or half their authors for the past 5 years?
Are editors and editors still going?
I'm not sure, I haven't seen it lately, so.
This is where an agent can be good as well. Can I just say, I'll come to you in a second. One thing I keep thinking about when I'm not talking, want to say is with self-publishing and then traditional publishing, something that a lot of people have tried and asked me about is self-publishing initially when they're getting knocked back and saying, I'll self-publish and I'll show there's a market for it. And then go to a traditional publisher. And a traditional publisher will not touch a book that's been self-published unless it's like, the only one I can think of is 50 Shades of Grey.
Silver was self-published and now it's traditional.
Yeah, but you have to have that.
The rarity of self-publishing something that will then be picked up traditional, please get a lotto ticket because you're winning big on that. I will say that people are doing hybrid. A lot of people are like, I'll do some traditional, I've got my agent, I've got my traditional, I do sci-fi with you, but I really like fantasy, but they're not gonna publish my fantasy, so I'll self-publish my fantasy. And there are people who tend to do both.
Yeah.
But again, that's a growing group, but not really a great big one at the moment.
You're sort of doing everything work-wise, yeah. Sorry, you had a question.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. What is the formula to get published by a big 5?
Please let us know.
Write a bestseller and then
Yeah.
you said number 1 is to have a big following online.
Yeah, I mean, there's no formula. There's things you can do to increase your odds. So yeah, having an existing audience, having a high-powered agent, a big agency, that can be great, but getting an agent is its whole other thing.
So you want to get an agent that already works with the big 5.
Oh yeah.
Ideally, yeah, that'd be great. And works with the big 5 in the area you want to write in. Be aware of what's selling and what's not selling. I work with a lot of unpublished writers that send me their manuscript and say, I can't get this placed. I keep submitting it to agents and they keep rejecting it. And it's about something, Greek myths, for example, is one I've had a lot. They write, this is a modern retelling of the Icarus fable. And publishers go, yeah, we don't need that. We can't sell that. It's not going to be.
Indie publishing will take it. Yeah. Romantic retelling of myths is super hot right now.
Yeah, I've been arguing for so many.
And there's no logic to this. It's essentially preferences within the industry for that. So yeah, being aware of what's selling and what's not selling. Have we got the time?
I think we have time for one in the blue, and then maybe if we're quick, we can get purple. Blue.
Thank you for the presentation. I don't know if it's related to what you're talking about, but I am very confused about this thing that I think about doing to get started with my first publication, which is submitting for a competition before trying to publish somewhere. So does it make sense to try it for either exposure or marketing strategy? If not, what is the purpose, if there is one, in terms of publishing, of submitting your work for a competition? Also regarding rights, I don't know much about it.
It depends on the competition.
Yeah.
Like I submitted to Tor's competition for a novella and was said, if we don't contact you in 6 months, thanks but no thanks, and I got ghosted. So for me, there's no problem with that. I still have my novella, I can publish it by myself, but the contest forced me to finish it and make it better and make it awesome, so yay for the contest. Yeah. And Kodansha does contests too, where you do get traditionally published.
There are some good contests. So, there's a lot of, not very good ones. It worked for me. That's what I did. the novel I wrote before what became my first novel, I submitted to quite a big competition in Scotland, and I was shortlisted. I didn't win, and that novel was never published. But because I was shortlisted, the publisher who was judging it contacted me and said, I'm not going to publish this, but whatever you do next, send that to me. And that became my debut novel.
Nice.
So you can get noticed that way, but that was like a big competition, not just,
Shortlisted, sorry. I think it's shortlisted.
Shortlisted. You're on the wait list.
Yeah.
Like a finalist.
Like you made it far, but not far enough.
Yeah.
You're on the short list.
Last top 7 I was, so
Yeah.
the last 7, and then they picked the winner from that.
But it
So,
has nothing to do with the rights.
no,
No.
no. Until it's published, until you sign a contract, the rights are yours. So submitting to if you submit to any competitions and they take the rights, that's not a good competition. That should never happen.
Last question with the purple.
No, yeah, sorry.
How do we find an agent?
All yours.
Look under the rocks. That's usually where they are. Go online, do research, find whatever you are writing, find authors who write the same kind of books and find their agents, because that means that's their speciality, and go with that. We're going to have to stop, so we can continue talking, but we have to. I'm getting the 1 minute one. So thank you all very much.